Well, howdy there, folks. James, Political Friar, coming to you again. I got the University of Oregon hat on. I'm sure you're shocked by that, but we're going to have a political topic this November 6th after Election Day, last Tuesday. The topic is obviously going to be Donald Trump's victory in the presidential race. Donald Trump won a convincing victory. The outcome was, well within one standard deviation of the mean from what the polls said. So we can't say this was a polling error per se. But I also think that the polls were just guessing. It turns out that they guessed close enough to not look silly, which was probably what the pollsters were trying to do. So mission accomplished there, guys. Way to go. How Donald Trump won, why he won, these things are going to take more time to digest. I am not sure that I'm ready to offer a lot of that type of detailed analysis about just what happened. I will tell you that it's multi-causal. Some of the candidates, ironic candidates, for what happened yesterday are to do with the Democrats being particularly risk averse in such a way that I think that they actually harmed themselves by not first moving a poor candidate out and then replacing a poor candidate with another one. I think there is a culture shift. Politics is downstream from culture, and I think we are seeing a backlash against a certain gendered culture that really arose in the late 90s and early 2000s, and you saw it in education early. You saw this achievement gap between boys and girls, where previously boys, because they were given more attention in elementary school, probably outperformed girls on tests, and then that flipped, and you started to see a significant underperformance among boys and overperformance among girls. And it turns out that those boys and girls who were experiencing that in the early 2000s or late 90s or mid 90s, well, they're grown up now. And the biggest single crosstab gap was young men versus young women. Young men overwhelmingly supported Donald Trump, and I think it is to do with masculine virtue. You can call it misogyny if you don't like that, and you can call it simple culture if you want to be a little bit more understanding about it. But one way or another, I think that we've got a lot to pick through about what happened. I detected a northern versus southern divide, a rural versus urban divide was obvious, an educated versus not educated divide, which I think actually plays a lot into the same lines as the masculine versus feminine divide in the last 30 years. Education, it turns out, is a feminine art and not something that has been as welcoming towards male voters. And so it turns out the democracy is not going to necessarily give in to the culturally virtuous. Heck, it sometimes celebrates the culturally obscene, for lack of a better word. And this isn't about male voters. At least it's not just about male voters. It's about American culture. I believe that the vast majority of Americans still have strong opinions about gender roles. And the idea that the Democrats and progressives have put forward that pretty much everybody is not just equal in dignity, but equal in ability, is something that I suspect struck a good amount of the population as incredible. Not like, oh, that's incredible, but it's not credible. And that unfortunately harmed them as credible messengers when they were telling honest truths about Mr. Trump, and that nobody believed him. Anyway, that was more of a riff than analysis. I need to actually step back and think about it a little bit more. I do have one comment, though, and it's more a history comment than a political comment, but I'm not going to bother changing hats. At 7:40 p.m. Pacific time, I texted a regular viewer of this program and a good friend of mine, Virginia, ... And the reason why I texted him Virginia ... at 7:40 p.m. is that Virginia hadn't been called yet. This was the first moment when I believed that Donald Trump was going to win. If Virginia was close enough that it hadn't been called by 7:40 p.m. Pacific, Harris was toast. I mean, the next indicator was that North Carolina went for Trump, and we talked about how whoever North Carolina goes for is going to have a 60+% chance to win. I mean, if it had gone for Harris, maybe even more than 60%, because Trump needed North Carolina more than Harris did. But once North Carolina got called for Trump by New York Times about the same time I was texting my good friend Virginia, that was it. You could pretty much extrapolate the outcome as expected. I am glad that it wasn't close. The last thing that this country needed was a close election. Final thought: time of death for the Republican Party of Eisenhower and Nixon and Ford and Reagan and Bush and McCain and Romney and Cheney. Time of death was 7:40 p.m. November 5th, 2024. The Republican Party, lacking some epochal change, which we know can happen because it's happened in the last 9 years, the Republican Party is dead. Long live the Republican Party. It is now a party of blood and soil. It's a party of cultural norms that are enforceable in ways that include a grand welcoming and a grand ostracization. You are either with us or against us. And it's a party of an individual personality. Now, that individual personality is 78 years old and is probably naturally going to, now the victory is secured and security is assured, will almost certainly find himself receding the same way that the last ancient president did. But the party's never, ever going to be the same. It's dead. It's something new. And we're going to have to figure out just what that means in a undeniable way. The never Trumpers, the old Republicans, the neocons, the Brett Stevens of this world, you're not a Republican anymore. I don't know what you are, but you're not a Republican. Anyway, it's just a thought. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments down below. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate that. And I'll talk to you soon. Maybe I'll have some better thoughts or deeper thoughts about just what happened yesterday. I appreciate you.